Commander Lyra held her breath as the ship's systems flashed red. The vessel shuddered, dropping through Earth's atmosphere faster than planned. The Novan scout ship wasn't designed for emergency landings, especially not on a planet deemed hostile. Status. Report, she demanded, her scaled fingers flying over the control panel. Officer Mina looked up from her station, fear evident in her large amber eyes. Main engines failed. Backup power at 17%. Impact in 40 seconds. Lyra's training took over. Brace for crash landing. Send emergency beacon to the fleet. The ship screamed through the air, trees rushing up to meet them. Impact came with a deafening crash. Metal tore, equipment flew across the cabin, and darkness claimed Lyra. She woke. To pain and smoke. A gash across her side leaked blue blood onto the floor. The ship lay broken around her. Officer Mina and the other crew members showed no signs of life. Lyra dragged herself to the emergency supplies, applying a temporary seal to her wound. The fleet wouldn't receive their distress signal for at least 3 days. Survival depended on staying hidden from the humans, the violent, unpredictable species her people had studied from afar. Their transmissions showed endless war. Their history was bloodshed. The Emperor himself had declared them dangerous, worthy only of study, before eventual containment. This mission was meant to assess their weaknesses before the Novan Armada arrived. Now Lyra was alone, injured, on their planet. Night fell as she gathered what supplies remained. Her translator, some medical equipment, and emergency rations might last a week. She needed to hide the ship before humans discovered it. A sound outside froze her in place. Footsteps. Human footsteps. Lyra reached for her weapon, finding only an empty holster. The crash had scattered everything. She grabbed a sharp piece of metal instead, ready to defend herself. The footsteps stopped just outside the torn hull. A beam of light cut through the smoke. Lyra pressed herself against the wall, prepared for the violent encounter her training had promised. A human male entered cautiously, shorter than she expected, wearing simple clothes rather than the military uniform she'd studied. He carried a small light and what appeared to be some kind of pack. He hadn't seen her yet. Perhaps she could strike first. But her movement caused her panel to shift. The noise made the human turn, his light finding her crouched form. They stared at each other in mutual shock. The human's eyes widened, taking in her scaled skin, her crest, her clearly non-human features. But instead of screaming or attacking, he simply raised his empty hand slowly. "Hello," he said quietly. "You're hurt." Her translator picked up the simple word. She clutched her makeshift weapon tighter. "Stay back," she warned, though she knew her translator wouldn't work in reverse. "I will fight." The human seemed to understand her stance, if not her words. He placed his light on the ground and opened his pack, removing a white box with a red symbol. Slowly he showed her the contents, bandages, tools she didn't recognize. He pointed to her wound, then to the supplies. "I can help," he said simply. "I'm Tay." Lyra's training screamed warnings. Humans were deceitful. They would capture alien life, experiment on it. Every briefing had emphasized their dangerous curiosity and violent tendencies, yet this human wasn't acting according to protocol. Where was the fear? The aggression? Blood loss was making her dizzy. She wouldn't survive 3 days without treatment. Human Tay placed the medical supplies on the ground and stepped back, giving her space. A gesture of trust. "Why help?" she managed to ask, the translator picking up enough to convey her confusion. "You need it," he replied simply. When Lyra didn't move, he slowly approached, hands visible. Her grip weakened on her weapon, as exhaustion took hold. "Eye doctor," he said, pointing to himself. "Before forest work." Lyra's vision blurred. The choice was being made for her. As consciousness faded again, she felt gentle hands lifting her. Not rough, not threatening. Safe now, was the last thing she heard before darkness took her again. Lyra woke on something soft, her wound cleaned and bandaged. She was in a small, wooden structure, a human dwelling. Through a window she could see trees, not laboratory walls. No restraints held her. No humans in protective suits studied her, just the quiet sounds of someone moving in another room. For the first time, Lyra considered that perhaps the Novan intelligence on humans might be incomplete. The first contact had gone nothing like her training. She had expected death at human hands. Instead, she was alive because of them. Lyra woke again to the smell of something cooking. Her body ached, but the sharp pain had dulled. The human dwelling was small and simple, filled with wooden furniture and strange objects she couldn't identify. Outside, rain fell softly against the windows. She tried to sit up, wincing as her wound protested. The bandage around her midsection was clean and professionally applied, not what she expected from a primitive species. "You shouldn't move yet," a voice said from the doorway. The human, Tay, stood there with a steaming bowl. He approached slowly, as if trying not to frighten her. Lyra tensed, her hand searching for a weapon that wasn't there. "I won't hurt you," he said, placing the bowl on a small table beside her. "Food, you need strength." Her translator caught the simple words. She stared at the bowl suspiciously. "Poison?" she asked. Something crossed Tay's face. Hurt, perhaps? An emotion she wasn't trained to recognize in humans. "No poison, just soup," he replied. To prove his point, he took a spoon and tasted it himself. Lyra watched him carefully. Nothing in her training had prepared her for this. Humans were supposed to be aggressive, especially toward threats. She was clearly alien, clearly different. Yet this human had brought her to his home, treated her wounds, and now offered food. "Why help enemy?" she managed to ask through the translator. Tay looked confused. "Enemy? We've never met before. You're injured. I'm a doctor, was a doctor. Helping is what I do." When she didn't respond, he sighed and sat in a chair across from her. "Your ship crashed near my home. Nobody else comes this deep into the forest. The nearest town is 30 kilometers away. You're safe here." Lyra processed this information. "Others look for crash?" Tay nodded. "Probably. I covered some of the debris with branches and dirt, but I couldn't hide it all. Military will investigate. Soon." This aligned with her expectations. The human military would want her technology, her ship. They would want her for study. "You give me to them?" she asked directly. Tay looked at her for a long moment. "No," he finally said. "I won't." "Why not?" "Reward for alien capture must be high." He shook his head. "I left that world behind. I don't want anything from them." He gestured to the cabin. "Around them. I came here to be alone, away from people, away from—" He trailed off, pain evident in his eyes. Lyra didn't understand, but her instincts told her he spoke truth. She reached for the soup, her hunger finally overcoming suspicion. The food was strange but not unpleasant. As she ate, Tay explained how he had found her ship, carried her back to his cabin, and treated her injuries using his medical supplies. "Your physiology is different but similar enough," he said. "The wound was deep but clean. You should heal well if infection doesn't set in." "How long until I walk?" she asked. "A few days for short distances." "You lost blood. Need rest." Lyra frowned. She had no time to waste. Her mission was compromised. She needed to contact her people. As if reading her thoughts, Tay spoke again. "I brought some things from your ship." He pointed to her translator and a small communications device on the table. "The metal box was making noise. I thought you might need it." Lyra stared in shock. Her emergency beacon. This human had not only saved her life but had brought her communications equipment. He had given her the means to contact her people, people who considered his species a threat. Most humans would take technology, study it, sell it, she said, testing him. Tay shrugged. "I'm not most humans." A sound outside made him tense. He moved quickly to the window, peering out through a gap in the curtains. "Helicopter," he said quietly. "Military. They're searching the area." Lyra tried to stand, fear giving her strength, but Tay gently pushed her back. "Don't worry, they won't find us. My cabin doesn't appear on any maps." He moved around the room, turning off lights, covering windows. Then he returned to her side. "Can you walk a short distance? There's a cellar below, safer there." With his help, Lyra managed to stand. Pain shot through her side, but she remained upright. Tay supported her weight as they moved slowly across the room. He slid back a rug, revealing a trapdoor. "I built this when I first came here," he explained as he helped her down narrow steps. "Sometimes hunters trespass. I prefer to stay hidden." The cellar was small but comfortable, with supplies, a small bed, and even books. As the sound of the helicopter grew louder overhead, Lyra looked at the human who had shown her nothing but kindness. "You risk much for stranger," she said quietly. "For alien." Tay smiled for the first time since she had met him. "Maybe that's what makes us human." Days passed slowly in Tay's cabin. The military helicopters came less often now, but Tay remained cautious. He went into town only once, returning with supplies and news that a meteor crash was being investigated. Lyra's wound healed faster than a human's would. She could walk around the cabin now, examining the strange objects that filled Tay's home. Books lined the walls. Plants grew in pots by the windows. Tools and instruments she didn't recognize hung on hooks. One evening, as rain tapped against the roof, Lyra sat across from Tay at his small wooden table. They had developed a routine of sharing meals. Tonight, Tay had prepared something he called stew. "Your people," Tay began carefully, "are they coming for you?" Lyra touched the communication device at her side. It had been damaged in the crash. She could receive signals but not send them clearly. "Yes, when emergency beacon reaches fleet. 3 more days, perhaps." Tay nodded slowly, stirring his stew. "And then?" "Then I report mission findings." Lyra hesitated. "My people believe humans only destroy. Dangerous species, threat to galaxy." She watched Tay's reaction carefully. He didn't seem angry or surprised, just sad. "We can be dangerous," he admitted. "We fight wars. We hurt each other and our planet." He looked up at her. "Is that why you came, to study us before attack?" Lyra didn't answer immediately. Her mission was classified, but this human had saved her life. "Owed truth, reconnaissance," she finally said. "First step before contact or other action." "Invasion," Tay said simply. Lyra didn't deny it. Tay stood and walked to a shelf. He returned with a flat object, which he opened to reveal colorful images on paper. "Book," he explained. "Pictures of Earth." He turned pages, showing her mountains, oceans, cities, and animals. "Yes, humans fight, but we also create, build, protect." He pointed to images of hospitals, schools, nature reserves. "My people believe humans only destroy," Lyra repeated, confused by this new information. Tay smiled gently. "Hard to understand other species. We watched your ship crash. You expected me to hurt you. I expected you to attack me. We were both wrong." He stood again, this time retrieving a small device. When he pressed a button, beautiful sounds filled the room. "Music," he explained. "Human creation." Lyra listened, feeling something stir inside her. The Novan Empire had music too, but nothing like this. So emotional, so raw. "What is purpose?" she asked, gesturing to the player. "Beauty," Tay replied. "Art, expression. Not everything needs practical purpose." This concept was foreign to her. Novans valued efficiency, function. Art existed but was secondary. "Before war," Tay continued, "I was doctor, healed people. After war," he trailed off, pain crossing his face. "Some humans destroy, others create, others heal. We contain multitudes." "Multitudes," Lyra repeated, her translator struggling with the concept. Their conversation was interrupted by a beeping from her communication device. A message was coming through. Emergency protocols activated by Fleet Command. They had received her beacon and calculated her position. Extraction team would arrive in 3 days. Tay watched her face. "Your people," she nodded. "What will you tell them about us?" Lyra didn't know how to answer. Her mission was clear. Gather intelligence on human weaknesses, report threat level, prepare for possible conflict. But her experience contradicted everything. She had been told about humans. "Truth," she finally said. Later that night, while Tay slept, Lyra examined the repaired parts of her communication device. She could send a simple message now, her first report to the fleet. Her fingers hovered over the controls. The standard protocol was clear. Report human military capabilities. technological level, vulnerability assessment. Instead, she sent humans, complex, not simple threat. More study needed before action. It was a small deviation from protocol. A dangerous one, perhaps, but it felt right. The next morning, Tay showed her something he called gardening. They knelt in soft earth, planting small green seedlings. Life, he explained, placing a seed in her scaled hand. From small things with care, something beautiful grows. Lyra looked at the tiny seed, then at the human beside her. Her people had been wrong about humans. Or at least, they had not seen the full picture. As she pressed the seed into the soil, a sound cut through the peaceful morning. Engines. But not the helicopters they had heard before. Something much larger was approaching. Tay froze, his hands. Still in the garden soil, the sound grew louder, a deep mechanical rumbling unlike the helicopters from before. Vehicles, he said, standing quickly. Many of them. Lyra rose beside him, her body tense. Military? Yes. Heavy equipment. Tay's face was grim. They've tracked something here. They rushed inside. Tay grabbed binoculars and peered through a gap in the curtains. His expression confirmed Lyra's fears. 3 trucks, men in black uniforms, special forces, not regular military. He handed her the binoculars. They have detection equipment. Strange devices I haven't seen before. Lyra looked through the lenses. The humans below carried handheld machines that blinked with lights. She recognized the technology. Radiation trackers. They were following the energy signature from her ship. They track my technology, she said. The emergency beacon signals both ways. Tay moved quickly around the cabin, gathering supplies into a pack. We need to leave. Now. They'll search here first. Where can we go? Lyra asked. I know these. Forests better than anyone. There are caves in the mountains. 5 hours walk. Tay handed her a coat. Put this on, cover your face. As they prepared to flee, Lyra's communication device began beeping again. Another message from the fleet. She translated quickly for Tay. My people detect human military movement. They worry I am captured. She hesitated before adding, they ask for Earth defense capabilities, weapon locations. Tay stared at her. What will you tell them? Before she could answer, shouts came from outside. The military teams were spreading out, approaching the cabin from multiple directions. No time, Tay whispered. He led her to the back door. Stay. Lo, follow me exactly. They slipped out just as vehicles pulled up to the front of the cabin. Tay guided her into dense underbrush, moving with the silence of someone who knew every root and branch. Lyra followed, fighting pain from her still-healing wound. They moved deeper into the forest as voices and shouts echoed behind them. Twice they stopped, pressing themselves into the earth as search parties passed nearby. Once, a helicopter flew. Overhead, its spotlight cutting through the trees. Hours passed. The forest grew steeper as they climbed into the mountains. Lyra's breath came in short gasps, her side burning with each step. Still, they pressed on. Almost there, Tay encouraged, as the sun began to set. Finally, he led her to a narrow opening between rocks, hidden by hanging vines. Inside was a small cave, dry and sheltered. Old hunting spot, he explained as they collapsed onto the stone floor. Nobody knows about it. As night fell, they could see lights in the forest below, the searching teams with their flashlights and vehicles. From this distance, they looked like stars fallen to earth. Lyra's device beeped again. More urgent this time. My rescue ship approaches early, she said, reading the message. They detected military activity, coming tonight instead of 2 days from now. Where will they land? Tay asked. Need coordinates for extraction point. Away. From human settlement. Tay pulled out a worn paper map. Here, he pointed to a clearing on the mountain. 3 kilometers from here. High ground, no towns nearby. Lyra sent the coordinates. The response was immediate and troubling. My commander wants full report now. Orders me to share human military positions, weaknesses. She looked at Tay, conflict clear in her eyes. Standard protocol for possible conflict situation. What happens if you don't follow orders? Tay asked quietly. Considered compromised, possibly left behind. Her hands tightened around the device. Or worse. Tay was silent, processing this information. And if you do follow orders? Information used to plan approach strategy. Possible, aggressive action if deemed necessary. The weight of the moment hung between them. Everything Lyra had been taught said humans were dangerous, that they would destroy her people if given the chance. Yet here was Tay who had saved her, hidden her, now running from his own kind to protect her. A sudden noise made them both tense. Voices coming up the mountain path. The search teams had changed direction, heading toward them. They're tracking your device, Tay realized. It's leading them to us. Lyra quickly shut down her communicator, but it was too late. The voices grew closer. Flashlight beams swept the rocks near their hiding place. We need to move, Tay whispered. The extraction point. Can you make it? Lyra nodded, though she wasn't sure. Her strength was fading. As they prepared to slip out of the cave, her device lit up one final time. A message from her commander. Provide human weakness report now, or rescue aborted. Fleet preparing defensive strikes based on your response. The search teams were less than 100 meters away now. Tay looked at Lyra, waiting for her decision. In that moment, she had to choose between her people's fear and what she now knew to be true. Lyra's fingers moved quickly over her device, sending a message that would change everything. Humans not. Simple threat. Complex species with great capacity for compassion. Recommend peaceful contact instead of force. Moving to extraction point now. She turned to Tay, her decision made. We go to extraction point, now. They slipped from the cave, as voices drew closer. The night was dark, but the mountain path was steep and treacherous. Tay led the way, moving with sure steps despite the darkness. Behind them, shouts indicated the search teams had found their hiding place. Faster, Tay urged, helping Lyra over a fallen tree. Her wound throbbed with each step, but fear drove her forward. Not just fear for herself, but for what might happen if her people and humans met with weapons first. Her device beeped again. The message was short. Orders disobeyed, considered compromised. Rescue continues for asset recovery only. Lyra's heart sank. In her culture's language, asset recovery meant they would take her by force, then question her loyalty. She might never see home again. My people think I betrayed them, she explained to Tay as they paused behind a large rock. They still come, but not as friends. Tay's expression was grim in the moonlight. Then we have two groups looking for you, neither with good intentions. Flashlight beams cut through the trees below them. The human search teams were spreading out, covering more ground. Above, a faint light in the sky grew stronger, her people's ship approaching. We won't make it, Lyra said, pain making her voice tight. Too slow. They find us first. Tay looked at her, then at the approaching lights from both directions. His face changed, a decision forming. I'll draw them off, he said simply. Create distraction. You go to ship. No, Lyra protested. They hurt you. Maybe kill you. My choice, Tay replied. He removed his backpack and handed it to her. 2 kilometers that way, follow ridge, can't miss clearing. Why? Lyra asked, the question that had haunted her since he first helped her. Why sacrifice for me? Tay smiled gently. Because that's also what humans do. He touched her arm briefly. Your people should know this truth about us. Before she could argue further, he was gone, moving down the slope toward the search teams. Moments later, she heard him calling out, drawing attention. Flashlight beams converged in his direction. Lyra moved upward, following Tay's directions. Her wound made each step agony, but the sounds below drove her forward. Shouts, orders being given. Tay had succeeded in drawing them away. The clearing appeared ahead, bathed in moonlight. Above, the ship was visible now, a dark shape against the stars. It would land soon. She reached the open space just as a powerful light from above illuminated the area. The ship descended, stirring dust and leaves into small whirlwinds. Its door opened, revealing 2 armed Novan soldiers. Commander Lyra, one called. Quickly! As she approached the ship, movement at the forest edge caught her eye. Human soldiers, weapons raised. They had followed her despite Tay's distraction. Time seemed to slow. The humans would see the ship, the aliens. First contact happening in the worst possible way, with fear and weapons. "Wait!" she called to both groups, stepping between them. "No weapons!" The Novan soldiers looked confused but kept their weapons ready. The humans advanced slowly, their own guns aimed. "I am Commander Lyra of the Novan Scout Fleet," she announced loudly, letting her translator project her words. "I came to study. Earth, I crashed. I was helped by humans, saved by them." One human soldier stepped forward. "Hand over the alien technology and step aside." "No," Lyra responded. "I go home, but with truth." She faced her own people. "Humans helped me when they could have harmed me. They showed compassion to a stranger, an alien." Neither group lowered their weapons. The moment balanced on a knife's edge. Then a voice called from the trees. "She's telling the truth." Tay limped into the clearing, hands raised. His face was bruised, but his eyes were determined. "We're not enemies unless we choose to be," he said. For a long moment, no one moved. Then slowly, Lyra walked to Tay's side. "My report to my people will be truth," she said. "That humans are complex, capable of violence, yes, but also of great kindness, of saving an enemy." She turned to the Novan soldiers. "We should be allies, not enemies." 3 years later, a different ship landed on Earth, not in secret, but in a formal ceremony attended by world leaders. When the door opened, Commander Lyra stepped out, now wearing the insignia of a diplomatic ambassador. The crowd was large, cameras flashing, but she searched for only one face. She found him standing to the side, no longer a recluse, but part of Earth's new diplomatic team. Tay smiled when their eyes met. "Welcome back," he said simply. "Good to return," she replied. "This time, no one expects death."